This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 709. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. Hey, we appreciate you. Now appreciate us. Go give us a 5-star rating to go with that 5-star splash over wherever you listen to podcasts such as iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find us. Buy a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. Also, check us out on Facebook. Give us a like. Give us a follow on Twitter at markinout. Give us a follow on Instagram at markinout11. And on TikTok. Let's go back to that at markinout. But thank you so much for listening. I am one of your hosts. You can follow me, Dave the Rave, on all social media platforms at DavidPTDPT. I am here with Brandon. You can follow him at BTTG161. And follow Chris at Chris Sweendog on Twitter and CMSweeney85 on Instagram. But that being said, what an incredible, incredible week of pro wrestling to talk about. So, Brandon, before we talk about pro wrestling, how are you?
I'm doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Tastic. How was your week?
It was fine. Didn't really do anything.
Okay.
Just watched a ton of pro wrestling.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. I hate weekends like where and this September is super rough because if you watched All In, that's August, I know. But if you had All In, it goes into Bash in Berlin, No Mercy. You have All Out coming up. It's rough.
Yeah. There's a lot to be done. How was your week? My week was good. Labor Day weekend was incredible. It was a lot of fun. Finally took some time to relax. Tried really hard not to do any work, which is always fairly difficult to do. But it was a great weekend. And to add to it, we had an incredible PLE to go along with it. We had Bash in Berlin.
The emphasis on the word that popped me. I don't know why.
Thank you.
Taking place at the Uber Arena. It opened up with Cody Rhodes picking up the victory over Kevin Owens to retain the WWE Championship. The crowd was pretty split here.
Yeah.
Were you split? I don't think we were split.
No, we weren't split. We were full-blown Cody.
A big question going into this match, though, was whether or not Cody's knee was fine, as per Kevin Owens on SmackDown.
Yeah, they played it up that he injured his knee at a live event.
But it seemed fine in the match until it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody kept fighting through it. Something I liked before the knee came into play, Cody kept going for the Cody Cutter. And Kevin Owens kept reversing it. But when he went for a pop-up powerbomb, Cody actually reversed that with the Cody Cutter. So I thought that was a nice spot.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Owens later on teased the apron powerbomb, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. And he hit Cody Rhodes with a stunner. Cody kicked out, eventually blocks a swanton, and then eventually hits that crossroads with one leg, which I was not expecting that to be the finish, but it turned out to be the finish there.
Yeah. What I liked a lot about all of this was at the end where KO embraced Cody Rhodes. I like that he gave that camera a nice shove.
Well, Cody tried to help Kevin Owens up after that.
Mm-hmm.
And he got up himself, and then Cody tried to raise Kevin Owens' hand, and Kevin wasn't letting him do that.
Yeah, he didn't want any of that sympathy.
Yeah. After that, we saw Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair pick up the victory over the Unholy Union to become the new tag team champions, which was very unfortunate to me.
I, on the other hand, understand it. The Unholy Union never connected with me, given where they provided a chance to connect with me. Maybe not so much, but I think that it's appropriate to switch the title back over to Cargill and Belair. And
that just makes it seem like what everyone was saying, where it's like, oh, she's in the hometown, they're giving them the titles for that reason.
I mean, it's very possible that they did it for that, but I mean...
Which Triple H did deny that, so...
I mean, it's also giving a lot of time to allow more of a build to Cargill and Belair, because we want to see Belair and Cargill go at it at some point. So it just extended that feud.
I didn't get the referee... The ref wasn't allowing Jade Cargill to be outside of the ring on the opposite corner when she wasn't legal.
Meh.
I feel like that's something that she could still do since she's not in the ring. So that didn't make sense to me. In ring wise, I think the Unholy Union controlled the ring a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that very well, especially that hot tag spot to Jade Cargill. It built up over and over and over again, and they were able to get that. So I thought that was good. I liked Alba Fire reversing the double team attempt from Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair.
Yeah, that was a nice reversal.
I wish it worked out for them, though, but they eventually did hit the move, and I thought that was going to be the end of the match, which I'm glad that it wasn't at that point, but then at the same time, who at that point, because of the outcome, it would have been the same for me.
Mm-hmm.
Alba Fire accidentally hit Isla Dawn with the Swanton, and then Bianca Belair was able to win shortly after that when she and Jade Cargill hit that finisher.
Yeah.
The worst part of this, Isla Dawn's foot was under the rope. 100% under the rope.
Mm. Yeah, that's ring awareness. Always
and there was
very
no
important.
mention on it on Monday Night Raw, so...
Mm-hmm.
After that, CM Punk picked up the victory over Drew McIntyre in a strap match. I liked the inclusion of the lights. A lot of people complained about it.
I agree with you. I like the inclusion of the lights.
It was much easier to follow.
Exactly. I mean, it allows a lot ease to follow.
WWE fans are so stupid. They need lights.
Yes, we do.
I needed those lights. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Call me a stupid fan. I needed lights to be able to trace who's having what turnbuckle. My apology to the marks out there. But
pretty early on in the match, CM Punk teased winning the match, but he goes for the strap instead, which McIntyre was obviously able to come back from that. CM Punk got busted open at one point. I liked when Drew McIntyre caught CM Punk after the knee to the corner, and he just dumped him outside of the ring through the table.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice. And McIntyre eventually took the bracelet out of his trunks, put it on his wrist before hitting a Claymore. CM Punk prevents Drew McIntyre from winning and then hits a go-to-sleep. Looked at the bracelet, hit a third, I think it was his third GTS. And he went for the buckle, but before that he hit a fourth one and then a fifth one before finally taking off that bracelet and winning the match. So
yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was a solid way to go about it.
Although even with the lights, I still was a bit confused because I thought it's because Punk, he was going around the ring touching the turnbuckles, but if McIntyre interrupted it, then that's when the thing would reset, as opposed to CM Punk hitting a GTS while doing the touching.
Yeah, that's how I took away from it.
Yeah.
But it was a solid match. I forgot how much fun a strap match is. And I think that they really did a great job in doing this strap match. 100%. Next up, you had the Terror Twins pick up the victory over the Judgment Day. The Terror Twins are so so over.
I mean, the crowd was very, very hot for Rhea Ripley.
Yes. Big time.
We saw Liv Morgan cheat a few times here. And Dominic, at one point, tried to make up with Rhea Ripley as a distraction of sorts. But Rhea Ripley dropped Liv Morgan, and she goes after Dominic. She did the leg lock that, I don't want to say caused Dominic to join the Judgment Day in the first place, but that was a spot that we saw right before Dominic joined the Judgment Day.
Huh. I didn't even... Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool callback. I liked the Terror Twins hitting the Razor's Edge at the same time.
Yeah, that was cool.
Then we saw JD McDonough and Carlito get involved. Finn Balor hit Damian Priest with the sling blade, I think it was, which allowed Dominic to get the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
But Damian Priest eventually took them all out. Dominic saved Finn Balor from being put through the table. And Rhea Ripley was able to win shortly after that. I don't understand. For weeks we saw the build-up. Will Rhea Ripley put Dominic Mysterio through that commentary table?
Ooh.
How the hell did that not take place?
Yeah.
That shocked me the most. I thought 100% that Judgment Day was winning this. But what's more shocking to me than that was that table not being used like that.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think that not being used was really huge. But I thought that they did a great job. I love the interactions between Liv and Dominic too throughout the entire match. And I think that everybody within this matchup plays really, really well against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Main event saw Gunther pick up the victory over Randy Orton to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. I think it's been quite some time since we've seen Randy Orton wearing trunks that weren't black or gray.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic crowd for this match.
100%.
I think, like their match at King and Queen of the Ring, I think this was slow.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that took away from this match. And I preferred this match to that last match that they had.
Yeah. I agree.
Because in that match, we saw Randy Orton with a bad knee, and he had a bad back. In this match, it was Gunther who had a bad arm. And that played perfectly into this match.
Yeah. I thought it played perfectly. I like the fact... What do you think about the finish of the match with Gunther making Randy Orton submit? Well, pass out to the choke.
That whole everything was like really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gunther hit Randy Orton with a power bomb, went to maybe stupidly, but not since he won, go for a second power bomb. Randy Orton hits an RKO out of nowhere. And then Randy Orton goes on to do the backdrop onto the steel steps multiple times. And he ends up putting Gunther through the commentary off the top of those steel steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then Randy Orton calls for another RKO. Gunther reversed that and locked him into that sleeper, which Orton got out of. And then Gunther locked it in like 2 more times, and Orton got out of that again. And then Gunther did it like 2 more times to finally get that victory. So the amount of sleeper holds that Gunther was doing was like really crazy to me.
Yeah. He really went all in with those.
But I will say I liked when the hurt arm was coming into play. Gunther hit that splash from the top rope and then used his good arm, even though you would normally see somebody hook it with like a certain arm or whatever with the leg to pin. Mm-hmm. He used his good arm, which was like a very weird position. So I thought that was really cool. And then after the match, they shook hands, so I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I think that was another passing of the torch. I mean, you can't say enough about how good Randy Orton has become over the progression of time. It really is incredible, and he really is a legend of pro wrestling. and probably one of the best wrestlers that we're seeing within this modern era.
Yeah.
Definitely.
100%. 100%.
So got to give Randy Orton a ton of props for all of that. I love the crowd for this entire match. And the entire event, the crowd was so hot. Mm-hmm. But that was the Bash in Berlin. And now let's get on to Monday Night Raw.
It was the very first night on commentary for Joe Tessitore. What'd you think?
I didn't mind it. I thought that he did good. It was his first night. It's hard to not compare someone to somebody such as Michael Cole, who's there for so long. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be new. But I'm definitely going to say that he did good. I'm looking forward to seeing what else he could do.
A lot of people misconstrued what I wrote on Twitter. They thought I was trashing him. I'm like, no, it sounds like 80s commentary to me with like Mean Gene talking. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's necessarily what WWE needs for 2024, but I still enjoyed his commentary. I thought it was good, and he's a fan. He knows exactly what he's talking about, so there's no needing to study anything with Joe Tessitore. He went into this knowing everything.
Yeah.
So it will definitely be it'll take time to get used to hearing that.
Yes.
And I can't get Mean Gene out of my head when I hear him do commentary.
Yeah, I didn't think Mean Gene, but now that you mention it, I'm gonna have to pay attention a lot more.
Like, it sounds like he's inducting somebody to the Hall of Fame.
Okay,
hosting the Hall of Fame.
All right, now I could start to think about it. I have to listen to it.
Like, we have Rhea Ripley coming up next.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I gotta hear it.
Which she was the first person out. She spoke about Bash in Berlin and laid out the challenge to Liv Morgan for the Women's Championship, which was returned with Dominic Mysterio coming out instead. And after fighting with the crowd, very much so here, he said that Liv Morgan, she's done it before. She'll do it again. Liv goes to sneak attack Rhea Ripley from out of nowhere, but Rhea gets the upper hand at first. Liv came back, and then Damian Priest ran out, and Judgment Day ran off. Mm-hmm. That sets up things to come later.
Yeah, I think that this entire segment was great. I like the save from Damian Priest, and I loved Rhea Ripley having her leg tangled within the ropes, and Liv Morgan showed no mercy on her leg. None at all. I liked even that she threw it, instead of like side kicks, I liked that she was doing straight like soccer kicks to the leg too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like those are realistic kicks, like just the straight soccer kick style. So I was happy that she fit that in there too.
First match of the evening saw I wanted to say Alpha Academy. American Made picked up the victory over Alpha Academy. Before the match, Chad Gable, I guess, gave a speech to fire up American Made, a pep talk. But I thought this was very entertaining. The crowd was so hot for this match. And I like that, even though I don't think Alpha Academy ever stood a chance in this, it looked like they did. Mm-hmm. Maxine looked fantastic in this. That knee that she did to Ivy Nile, I thought was great.
Yeah.
That's like night and day from what we saw to what we saw on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. I think that I thought that this match was awesome. I thought that every person in this match did phenomenal for that.
And then Chad Gable got involved, and it distracted Maxine, which allowed for Ivy Nile to get that Dragon Sleeper victory. Mm-hmm. But she did slap Chad Gable before that.
Yeah.
And then Chad Gable cut a promo afterwards on the Wyatt Six, getting involved from last week. And he's like, now I know what it takes to beat them or whatever. And he challenged them to an 8-man street fight next week on Monday Night Raw, which Uncle Howdy came out and spoke and I guess accepted.
Yeah, and I like the Uncle Howdy coming out and speaking and everything. And I was happy that the fans listened to Uncle Howdy and didn't shower over his talking or anything like that.
Right.
It was definitely good. Next up, you had Shayna Baszler pick up the victory over Zelina Vega. Vega didn't stand a chance against Baszler.
But I'm glad we got to see a match like this from her. It wasn't completely one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
And she also, she had to take out Zoe Stark and Sonya Deville, so that cost her the match, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then PFC surrounded her after the match was over, and Lyra Valkyria tried to make the save, but didn't work out for her.
Mm-mm.
And then Sonya Deville cut a promo afterwards. And then later on, Zelina Vega and Lyra Valkyria were annoyed that everything took place there. And Lyra said that she has an idea based on them being in Calgary next week. I would think it means 100% Natalia's making her return. Based on the promo from Sonya Deville, people think it might be Becky Lynch. Because she said something like, no man can whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it would make more sense if it was Natty.
I don't know. What happens if it's who's the new Valkyrie? No.
Valkyria?
Yeah. No. Who's the new one that they just signed? From CMLL?
No.
What's her name though?
Stephanie Vicor. That would make no sense.
Vicor.
That would make literally zero sense.
I mean, she was touring on the main roster.
No, that's not. She wasn't on tour with the main roster. They were in Mexico.
All right.
It's either Natty or Natty. I don't even think it's Becky Lynch. I think that's like 0% chance. So.
Yeah.
But we saw CM Punk come out and he spoke about Gunther and the championship. CM Punk celebrated on the commentary table, but Drew McIntyre pulls him off just like he did to CM Punk just like CM Punk did at WrestleMania. And Wade Barrett tried to calm Drew McIntyre down. He ends up hitting CM Punk with that Claymore. He got CM Punk into the ring, hit another Claymore, takes the bracelet, which CM Punk, by the way, it went from Drew McIntyre's trunks to his wrist to CM Punk's mouth.
Yeah. I mean, also, I'm just gonna, before you continue, was that last Claymore the one where he lost his shoe?
Oh, I think that might have been the first Claymore.
The first one.
That was the first one outside the ring.
Yeah, it totally just knocked CM Punk out of his actual shoe.
But Drew McIntyre, after that second Claymore, takes the bracelet and rips it, breaks it.
And then shoves it down his throat.
Continues to beat CM Punk down, and they took CM Punk out on a stretcher. Drew McIntyre jumped him again. He's like gouging out CM Punk's eyes.
Yeah, and I mean, even you had Wade Barrett trying to break it up and trying to get in there.
I would say this sets up Hell in a Cell. I was under the impression that we would see maybe CM Punk go to Seth Rollins.
What about First Blood? I mean, Bad Blood is
Bad Blood. That's what I meant.
Oh,
what about Bad Blood? I think Bad Blood will have Hell in a Cell.
What about
it's the anniversary of Hell in a Cell?
But what happens if their match is actually a First Blood?
Make sense.
No,
not to me. It wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then later on, I thought you have CM Punk out there talking about, I'm coming for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther speaks about Randy Orton, doesn't even mention CM Punk. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I do like the swerve that, like, how you think that CM Punk is moving on and CM Punk is going to challenge Gunther and everything like that, but then you have Drew McIntyre's involved, and then Gunther just totally not even playing with it.
Yeah, and then instead of anybody else, Sami Zayn came out, and the Intercontinental Championship was brought up, and he said all these Hall of Famers used it as a stepping stone to the World Heavyweight Championship, just like Gunther did. And now I'm going to do that. And Gunther just like simply, he's like, no. And then Sammy asked him why he's backing down from a fight. That's not the Gunther I know. And that sets up, I guess, a match for them.
Mm-hmm.
He said something about the only person beating him is me.
Nah.
So we'll see where that leads to. People are wondering if Triple H will put the World Heavyweight Championship on Sami Zayn. I don't think anytime soon, but I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Mm-hmm. No.
After that, we saw Ilya Dragunov pick up the victory over Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee to advance in that Intercontinental Championship tournament gimmick thing. I didn't think about it during the match or before the match, but I guess it makes sense. Carlito showed up and got involved, and he attacked Dragon Lee. Damian Priest came out. He took Carlito out of that match, and then Dominic kicked Damian Priest, and Damian Priest chased him off.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured that Ilya Dragunov would win, but I think it would have been nice to see Dragon Lee advance as well, but I enjoyed what they did after Dominic left. I thought that was a solid one-on-one spot there for them.
Yeah, I think that was really good. I liked Lee's attire and everything during that entrance.
I don't know how you travel with something like that.
That is true. But this was a solid match. And I'm glad that Dragunov did pick up the victory to advance. Next up, you had the Unholy Union pick up the victory over Damage Control to become the number one contenders. So,
I don't get it. Bianca and Jade were on commentary for this. I was so torn with the Unholy Union because they just lost the titles. I don't understand. Like, it seemed like it was perfectly set up where PFC would be part of something like this. But I don't understand. They literally just lost the titles. Why are they getting another shot?
Mm-hmm.
But the most spoken about part of this match was that spot where there was a bunch of stuff that didn't make sense with this spot. But Kairi Sane went to the top rope. Isla Dawn pulled Bianca Belair into Kairi's path.
It looks like she was pulled too far forward.
I just think Kairi was jumping maybe too far.
That's the thing. It looks like it looked like she was pulled too far forward away from it, and then Kairi overshot it. But I feel like even you have to try harder to catch. Even Jade could have caught her.
That wouldn't make any sense. Kairi busted up her eye on the table. You could see Bianca Belair pulls Kairi.
Yeah.
If she didn't pull Kairi, then maybe it would have been much worse.
Yeah.
But that spot led to Jade Cargill hitting Kairi Sane in
you
front
think
of
that
the
it would
referee.
you think it would be much worse?
Yeah.
If she didn't pull her.
Yeah.
Why?
What do you mean? If she wasn't there to stop any momentum that Kairi had going towards that table, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, but where she was located, it would have been the direct hit. Like where she jumped, she would have caught her directly.
I don't know. But I didn't understand Jade Cargill hitting Kairi in front of the referee and the referee not doing anything about that. And then Fire and Dawn cheated to get extra oomph, I guess, to get the victory behind the referee's back.
Mm-hmm.
And then Damage Control went face-to-face with the champions afterwards. Kairi seems like she's fine. She just had to get stitches over her eye, luckily. So
yeah, thank goodness. I mean, that was scary.
After that, we saw Braun Strowman pick up the victory over Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus to advance to that Intercontinental Championship tournament gimmick thing. Bronson Reed was supposed to be in this, but he was out, unfortunately, with COVID. And Braun Strowman, even though he was not cleared to go, or he wasn't supposed to be there, he said he spoke with the doctors, and the doctor said, if you can go, then you can go. So Braun Strowman stepped in. I thought maybe Joe Hendry could have been in that spot, given that they were in the same town the night before.
True. And he said that he could still show up anywhere.
That's why I thought maybe maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty earlier on in the match, Ludwig Kaiser moved out of the way of Braun Strowman. Braun goes through the barricade. Braun later throws a chair at Ludwig Kaiser. Pete Dunne shows up to take Sheamus out with a shillelagh, which broke. And all of this, I wasn't fully into this match. I have to wonder if Bronson Reed wasn't out with COVID. Was he the one to go through?
That I don't know.
I don't know what was missing from this match for me, but it was just like a lot.
Yeah, it was hard for me to get invested. I couldn't get invested with it.
Main event saw Damian Priest, and he needed a partner. Rhea Ripley went and found a partner. He didn't say yes, he said yeet. Jey Uso picked up the victory over the Judgment Day. I thought it was a decent match. A lot went into this also. Liv Morgan got involved to crotch Jey Uso on the top rope. And then Rhea Ripley's music hit. The crowd went insane. But she came hobbling out with that crutch, and Liv Morgan mocked her to her face. And she ends up hitting Liv Morgan with the crutch.
Yeah, she played right into it. She got a little bit too close.
And even with one leg, she chased Liv Morgan off. And that distracted the Judgment Day. I liked Damian Priest when they were in the ring. He used JD McDonough's leg to hit Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Damian Priest hit the Razor's Edge, and Jey Uso hit the Uso Splash for them to pick up that victory.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the crowd loved it. You had that yeet. The big yeet that everybody wanted to hear.
Yeah, after the Raw went off the air.
Yeah, which was awesome. So
mid-Joe Tessitore interview as well. Him and Jackie Redmond did that. Did you see that angle or no?
No.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Let's get on to some NXT No Mercy. Kicking off with Axiom and Nathan Frazer picking up the victory over Chase U to become the new champions. I did not see this coming.
No. And in fact, there were a bunch of spots in this where I'm like, they're definitely not winning the championships. There was a point where Nathan Frazer runs into the ropes and it crotches Axiom, which allowed for Andre Chase to hit that Spanish fly from the top rope. That wasn't their only misstep. And I did think that it was going to be over after that Falcon Arrow and Golden Ratio from Nathan Frazer and Axiom, but Axiom accidentally kicked Nathan Frazer.
Exactly, you see?
But then later on, Axiom hit a Spanish fly and Nathan Frazer hit a Phoenix Splash, and they picked up that victory.
Yeah, I was very surprised by this, and I can't see them carrying it for long, but the only way I see it carrying for long is if they both turn full-fledged heels and they start to get on the same page.
Well, we'll talk more about those titles, but as for Chase U, Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson went to leave the ring afterwards, and Ridge snapped. And he took them out, and I'm like, oh, well, it makes sense because it seemed like they were showing him disrespect. They went to go leave on him. But then he turned his attention to Andre Chase and took him out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he hit that DDT on the table to Andre Chase while Thea Hale was begging him to stop. And on NXT, Ridge Holland said that Chase U failed him when he was the one to help them get everything. And now he's going to destroy it.
Yeah. I like this for Ridge, but now we're back to where we were. So now we...
Unless Thea Hale's working with him and we don't see that yet.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be shocking.
That'd be interesting.
After that, we saw Zachary Wentz pick up the victory over Wes Lee. Zachary Wentz came out with the X Division Championship that he literally just won. I think it was the night before at TNA Emergence. He beat the former champion Mike Bailey. He beat Hammerstone, Jason Hotch, Laredo Kid, as well as Chase U's Riley Osborne in an Ultimate X match. as far as this match goes, I feel like it was a little slower than I was expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Still enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. I mean, I definitely saw Wentz pick up the victory over Wesley.
It sucks that the commentary table broke before that spot.
I know.
But Wesley still went to the top. He hit the double stomp. He went to use that chair, and Trey Miguel showed up and took it from him. And then Zachary Wentz hit that sick Canadian Destroyer off the apron, and then followed it up with that UFO cutter in the ring to pick up the victory.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get more. We'll put a pin in that as well.
Yeah.
After that, Kalani Jordan picked up the victory over Wendy Chu to retain the North American Championship. This match was also kind of slow, but I think it's the best that Kalani's looked in weeks. I feel like there's been like a lull with her. So I'm happy that this was, in my eyes, at least better from what we've seen recently.
Mm-hmm.
I did think that when Wendy Chu had that clutch locked in, that I didn't think that Kalani Jordan was losing that championship, but when she had that clutch locked in, I'm like, maybe.
Started to question it a little bit.
Yeah, I thought maybe she was done, but she got out of that, hit the flatliner, a 450, and a split-legged moonsault to pick up that victory. Yeah. And then Tatum Paxley showed up to choke Wendy Chu out, get her revenge.
Yeah, got that revenge on her, choked her right up. But next up, you had Obafemi pick up the victory over Tony D'Angelo to retain his championship. Obafemi, he's just going to keep on going.
Tony D'Angelo wasn't slowing down, though. He got a lot in here. Most of this was Obafemi being super powerful, but I think Tony D'Angelo matched Obafemi with some of his moves. And then towards the end of the match, Obafemi took a crowbar from Luca Crucifino. Stax took it away from him, but he takes both of them out. And then Obafemi hit, I think maybe this was like 3 or 4 at that point. He hit 2 power bombs on Tony to pick up that victory. But Tony D'Angelo, he put up quite a fight.
Yeah, I think he put up quite a fight, but I think that at the end of the day, Obafemi was not going to lose that night. No.
After that, we saw Roxanne Perez pick up the victory over Jada Parker to retain the NXT Women's Championship. I like that Roxanne Perez did a move, and then she did like that bowing taunt, and then Jada Parker did a move and did that taunt right back to her. And I thought it was very interesting. I didn't think the crowd would be split here. The crowd seemed to be pretty split.
Yeah, they didn't really know what to do.
I liked Roxanne using Jada's the corner senton that she does, but which Parker eventually did hit by herself later on, but from the top rope, I might add. But Jada Parker hit Roxanne Perez with that hip attack. She flew out of the ring. That was probably her one chance to get the actual pin there. And she went to hit another hip attack outside the ring. Roxanne Perez moved, and Parker went crashing through the barricade. And then Roxanne Perez was able to get her back into the ring. Hit she hit a Pop Rocks first on the barricade.
Yeah.
And then she hit another Pop Rocks in the ring to get that victory.
I thought that this was a solid match, and I think that Roxanne Perez, I think it was given that she was going to pick up the victory over Jada Parker too. I think that this one and Obafemi was pretty predictable for me.
Yeah, and the lights go out. We had fingers crossed maybe Julia will show up finally. And she showed up. Went face to face with Roxanne Perez.
What did you think about her debut for that?
What do you mean? I thought it was the theme song needs to grow on me. The beginning of her theme song I liked, but the after the beat drops, I'm like, eh.
Yeah,
I thought that was fine to go face to face with the champion. I thought that was great.
I liked the theme song and stuff like that. I liked the theme song. It seemed like she has I don't want to say an arrogance when she comes to the ring, but she has I am the number one person and I am here kind of a vibe.
Well, she is, so.
Yeah, I guess we will see. Next up, main event of the evening, Ethan Page picked up the victory over Joe Hendry to retain the championship in a match that we knew the outcome, but we just hoped.
Trick Williams was the special guest referee, which I liked earlier on. He asked Ava if he could have a whistle, but I don't think he used the whistle at all during the match. But this was pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Ethan Page hitting that Ego's Edge onto the ring apron. I don't like that they did the 9 count spot in this match because they literally just did it in Roxanne and Jada Parker. So I would have taken that out of this match. But Joe Hendry dropped Ethan Page with his own Ego's Edge. And he hit a standing ovation on Ethan Page, but Ethan's foot was under the rope. And then Joe Hendry questioned Trick about that, and Ethan Page pushes Joe Hendry into Trick Williams. Trick goes out of the ring, so a new referee has to come out. Hendry, unfortunately, eats a DDT onto a championship. And then the referee, right before could count 3, Trick Williams pops back into the ring. I'm the referee. I'm going to call this. Trick Williams, by the way, was calling this right down the middle. So,
yeah, I think that Trick Williams' involvement in this was good. I just wanted Henry to win.
Well, Ethan Page went to hit Trick Williams. Trick moved. The other referee got hit. And then Ethan Page, when Trick was dealing with that, low blowed Joe Hendry. And that led to Ethan Page picking up the victory. But Joe Hendry was incredibly over here. He was very much so over.
The crowd loves Joe Hendry, so I think that, I don't know, it would have been a fine spot for him to be, at least pick up the victory as the champion.
It would have been very interesting. I think if anybody's crossing that line as a TNA superstar or wrestler winning championship gold, it'll be the tag team championships, and I'll talk about that perhaps in a second. But Pete Dunne showed up afterwards and hit Trick Williams with that bitter end to close No Mercy.
Yeah. Leading us to NXT.
Which opened with Trick Williams calling out Pete Dunne, but all ego Ethan Page showed up instead. And they went back and forth. And Pete Dunne tried to attack Trick Williams from behind, but he was ready for it. Security broke them up, and they fought throughout the night. They were supposed to be the main event of NXT. Ava's like, no, screw this. If you're fighting now, go out there now. And then Ethan Page told Ava that she's lost control of NXT. And later on, before the main event, we saw Pete Dunne versus Trick Williams end in a double countout. They brawled before the match started. Pete Dunne, I would say, controlled most of the actual match. Trick had that comeback, but they eventually fought outside, and Pete Dunne put Trick Williams through the commentary table, off the barricade with that Russian leg sweep.
Which was a cool spot.
Yeah, and they both got counted out for it, and then they continued to brawl.
Yeah, so it is far from being done.
I thought maybe there would be a fight pit added there, but Ava later on made it a last man standing match for next week where the winner will face Ethan Page on the first episode of the CW network.
It has to be Trick Williams, no?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't see it being Pete Dunne in that role. It just doesn't make sense to me to have Dunne in there.
I think, it probably has to be Trick.
Yeah. Next up, you had the Rascals pick up the victory over Gallus and Hank to become the number one contenders. I think that this is definitely interesting because it plays into what you just spoke about.
Yeah. The match itself, I thought it was good, but it was very, very chaotic. Joe Coffey got involved. Javon Evans got involved. The OC got involved. And thankfully, the Rascals won, and I'm happy that everybody that got involved, the outside interference spots, all made sense for the feuds that each team is like circling in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, you saw Javon Evans pick up the victory over Joe Coffey. That was set up from this whole segment. But Gallus caused a distraction at one point, and that Cedric Alexander came out to help Javon Evans. I thought that was a decent match, but it was pretty short. But I feel like going back to those tag team championships, the Rascals could potentially, maybe not, maybe it's not probable that they would defeat Axiom and Nathan Fraser.
I could see that happening.
After that, we saw Lexis King pick up the victory over Oro Mensah. This match went much longer than I thought it was going to. And Lexis King ends up stealing the victory with his feet on the ropes.
I like that. You know, Lexis King is a heel.
After saying that Mensah's father should have burned. 60% of his father's body was burned in a car accident, which Oro spoke about a few weeks ago. When Oro was a kid.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy line to drop.
Yeah, King just showing no remorse.
After that, Tatum Paxley picked up the victory over Rosemary, which was really cool to see Rosemary again. It was fun to see her and Tatum Paxley clash in this.
Yeah, I think that at first Tatum Paxley was maybe underestimating Rosemary from the start, and Rosemary just went right at her, pushing her into the turnbuckle and everything, and I was a big fan of the aggression Rosemary was showing throughout the entire match.
I do feel like it could have been a little longer, though.
Mm-hmm.
But Wendy Chu attacked Tatum Paxley afterwards, and Tatum fought her off only to eat a spear from Rosemary. I thought maybe Kalani Jordan or Lola Vice would make the save.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was Lyra Valkyria, and I thought that was really cool given their history together, and she finally embraced the weird of Tatum Paxley.
Yeah.
She said she would never come back to NXT, but she's back to help Tatum out.
Yeah. Next up, you had Oba Femi pick up the victory over Stax, which stemmed from a backstage segment where Oba Femi, he is not a fan of Rizzo.
No.
At all.
No. But as far as the match goes, Oba Femi, super powerful. Every hit that he hit on Stax left a mark on his back. And Stax had like the smallest of comebacks, but Oba shut him down big time, and Tony D'Angelo outside the ring seemed kind of worried there.
Yeah.
And then the main event of NXT saw Jada Parker pick up the victory over Jasmine Nix, stemming from a run-in earlier in the night. This also was somewhat of a quick match, but the bigger takeaway from this was Fatal Influence attacking Jada Parker afterwards, which she was holding her own until JC Jane hit that forearm. And this had me surprised also. I thought for sure she was going to have people save her. Yeah. And then later on, Fatal Influence interrupted the women's locker room talking. And it was Kalani and Lola Vice speaking up. Where the hell were they to make this save for Jada Parker?
Jada Parker doesn't have any true friends over there.
I guess truly, I mean, she hasn't done anything to deserve that, I guess.
True. Maybe this is going to be that awakening for her.
She's been a heel, so...
Yeah, this may be the awakening to her that maybe she has to start to be a little bit more kind to those people that she shares the locker room with.
And then before NXT was over, we saw Roxanne Perez come out and she spoke about her match with Jada Parker. She called Jada Parker the future of the division. And she also said that what she has can't be replicated. And nobody's going to beat her. Nobody's taking that championship from her. And then the lights went out. Everybody probably had to expect for it to be Julia.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Chelsea Green. And Chelsea said that nobody's going to tell her that she's not number one contender. And then the lights went out and Julia showed up. Chelsea tried to strike her and she got hit with that G trigger. And Julia laid out a challenge for the first episode of the CW network.
Yeah, she was just like, you, me, CW.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm excited for that. I think that's really exciting. And I did pop for Chelsea Green.
Yeah, I because I wasn't expecting Chelsea at all.
Not at all.
I thought that was
definitely
fantastic.
I definitely popped for Chelsea Green. And I love the fact that I love how they shut off all the lights. And when they came back, like that it was Chelsea Green that was coming out.
Yeah.
I really like that.
So that's NXT. I'm not going to be doing SmackDown this week, so I'll touch on anything major from this week next week. Going to take a quick little break, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
Yo, this is New Jack, and you listening to Markin Out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out episode 709. Rampage last week kicked off with Triple J picking up the victory over Private Party and the Kingdom. I thought this match was good. Don't understand why this was happening, though, or why Triple J was the team to win. But Double J was involved in a hot tag spot, and the fans were super into it. If you ask me, it seemed like Private Party should have been the team to win this, but who knows what they have in store for Double J and Jay Lethal. After that, Mina Shirakawa picked up the victory over Misa Kate. I thought this was a decent showcase for Mina, but I don't want a pattern out of that. We saw the Grizzled Young Veterans pick up the victory over the Outrunners. This was another good showcase match, but I want actual tag competition. I don't want these matches where it's just like people that don't have a shot at winning. So I'm looking forward to FTR and Grizzled Young Veterans whenever that takes place. Nyla Rose picked up the victory over Amina Belmont. When I was watching this, I thought this had no purpose whatsoever. But I'll talk on that in a second. The main event saw Takeshita pick up the victory over Leo Rush, Black Taurus, and Commander. This was a very chaotic match. I think the outcome was a no-brainer. But there was some good action in this match. I like the Tower of Doom spot where Commander hit a Spanish fly on Black Taurus and Takeshita hit a German suplex on Commander that triggered that Spanish fly. The springboard turning poison Rana that Commander hit was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in pro wrestling. So that was a very fun match. Just another very confusing episode of Rampage. On Collision, you had Hologram and the Conglomeration pick up the victory over John Morrison, Lee Moriarty, and Black Taurus. And like I've said in the past, it makes no sense if you're trying to build up Hologram as this big single star. Why are you going to have him team with names that are much bigger than him? And a match against people who never win in AEW. I don't know what that does for Hologram. Other than get a win in the books, it's essentially AEW Dark's formula. I don't think that's good. After that, Bang Bang Gang picked up the victory of the Premier Athletes. Mark got involved here, but the Guns were able to get back on track to get that victory. This, again, seemed like one of those matches just to get a win on the books. I want to see the Premier Athletes pick up victories here. After that, FTR picked up the victory over the Kingdom. The Kingdom has unfortunately been on a losing streak, but this was a good competitive match. The one thing I disliked the most was how little control the referee had. When FTR went to AEW, it was under the guise that they'd be following rules and applying the rules to tag team wrestling. They used the tag team rope, and that was about it. Afterwards, Grizzled Young Veterans attacked FTR. Like I said before, I'm looking forward to this match. We saw Top Flight, Action Andretti, and Leo Rush pick up the victory over Iron Savages and Turbo Floyd. Leo Rush this week took part in the pilot gear, But the main focus of this was Turbo Floyd versus Iron Savages, which is kind of weird because Floyd kind of brushed all of that stuff off between the two teams. So, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see something between the Outrunners and the Iron Savages, or why there was an uneven team there. Like, why was he by himself? After that, we saw Kyle Fletcher pick up the victory over Ishii. Honestly, I'm stunned that someone who has never won a singles match in AEW lost again. And at this point, who cares if Ishii is in AEW for the time that he's in? If he's not picking up victories, it's meaningless to me. And Nigel called it a huge victory for Kyle Fletcher, but it really isn't. Ishii's, I think, right now 0-9. Such a big victory. After that, Buddy Matthews picked up the victory over Commander. Another match that I didn't really understand why it was happening, but I enjoyed it. I do wish that Buddy controlled more of this match. The main focus was afterwards. Maximum Male Model showed up on the screen to challenge Buddy Matthews and Brody King. So that'll take place. And then the main event saw Hikaru Shida pick up the victory over Queen Aminata, Serena Deeb, and Thunder Rosa to become number one contender for the TBS Championship. Shida and Thunder Rosa were the only two who had any right to win this match. So I'm glad that Hikaru Shida won this. I did like when Tony Schiavone couldn't understand Nigel when he was saying that people can work together in this match. Tony was just like, oh, it's everyone for themselves. And then Queen Aminata and Serena Deeb teamed up, and he's like, oh, I guess you were just talking about that. It's like, you don't have to be a tag team to team up in a fatal four-way. But also, Queen Aminata and Serena Deeb had a segment earlier on that kind of foreshadowed them teaming up in this match. And he was so quick to put Nigel down when Serena Deeb attacked Queen Aminata later on, even though they literally just teamed up in the match. So Nigel wasn't incorrect there. The ending of this match could have been smoother. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Mercedes versus Hikaru Shida again. I just wish there was actual build to this. Because why, like a few weeks ago, you have Hikaru Shida versus Mercedes Moné, 0 build. Why have that if you're going to also have this match with 0 build? I don't like that. On AEW Dynamite, it opened up right off the bat with Daniel Garcia super pissed off. He called MJF out. MJF showed up in the crowd and said he didn't want to spoil their match at All Out. And he doesn't attack people from behind like a coward, alluding to Daniel Garcia, even though Garcia was technically in front of him. But Daniel Garcia said everything about MJF is fake, including his love for AEW, unlike Daniel Garcia's love for AEW. As far as this segment goes, I don't think Daniel Garcia is good enough on the mic to go against MJF the way he was going. But he mapped out the rest of MJF's life, including having MJF have to tell his kid that he was a pro wrestler until Daniel Garcia ended his career. And MJF said that he's going to put Daniel Garcia in a wheelchair. MJF brought up Garcia's mom, and Garcia ran right through security. He took some of them out to get to MJF, only to have MJF smash a bottle over his head. This segment went way too long for me. And it wasn't even over after that bottle smash. MJF, I don't understand what it is with AEW. They love blood and licking it or whatever. MJF kissed Daniel Garcia's forehead and had blood all over his face from it. That's so gross to me. First match saw Okada pick up the victory over Kyle Fletcher to retain. I thought this was a good match. I like that brainbuster from Kyle Fletcher on the ring apron. I don't think they needed to fight outside the ring, but the second brainbuster that happened on the barricade I thought was cool, but none of that was needed. There was a spot where the referee winced, and that led to Okada hitting a low blow on Kyle Fletcher and then getting the victory. Takeshita ran out to make the save after the match. I really hope Takeshita takes that title from Okada. After that, Jamie Hayter picked up the victory over Robin Renegade. This match, to me, doesn't make sense. The match that Harley Cameron had with Jamie Hayter makes sense. I think Jamie Hayter could face people who actually have victories in AEW. And I feel like she lost everything about her while she was out injured. And bringing her back on that pre-show really didn't help. And as far as Robin Renegade goes, I'll put a pin in that. After that, Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir make their way into the arena, tearing apart people backstage. They run into the Elite. Jon Moxley ends up calling Jack Perry a sweet kid. And then they go to the ring. Moxley spoke about fighting Darby a few years ago and how he just knew Darby got wrestling, got it. And he just wants to talk to Darby. He didn't mention Marina Shafir or anything. That's the end of that. Mariah May picked up the victory over Nyla Rose to retain the match. There's your pin as to why Nyla Rose had that random match. I don't understand how Nyla always seems to have a match against the new champion. I couldn't care less about this, which is a shame because Mariah May needs to be built up. This is not how you start your brand new championship run. Especially not with Nyla controlling most of this match. Afterwards, Mercedes Moné and Camille came out. Mercedes questioned Hikaru Shida calling herself the Ace. And then Hikaru Shida showed up on the screen and said Mercedes was close to losing in their last match, but she lost due to Camille. And then Christopher Daniels popped up out of the frame or whatever, banned Camille from ringside. Here's the other pin. I think we could see the Renegade Twins join Mercedes' group here. They'll do twin magic or whatever to cost Hikaru Shida the match. There has to be a reason why Robin Renegade was in a random match against Jamie Hayter. So we'll see come all out. After that, you saw the Blackpool Combat Club and PAC pick up the victory over Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Will Ospreay. Bryan Danielson was on commentary for this. I don't think they needed to have PAC versus Ospreay the same week that they were having PAC versus Ospreay on pay-per-view, but it was a very much so action-packed match, chaotic at times. PAC and Will Ospreay end up brawling on the ramp. That takes them out of the equation, and they continued to fight even after the match was over. The worst part of this match was the officiating. It was absolute garbage. Afterwards, the Elite attacked the Blackpool Combat Club. They escaped before the Blackpool Combat Club could come back. And Claudio said that the Young Bucks made a big mistake and laid out a challenge to the Young Bucks for All Out, which gets made. The end of Dynamite was supposed to see a contract signing between Swerve and Hangman. Earlier in the night, they showed a video of Swerve buying his childhood home, thanks to the new AEW contract that he signed. When it came time for Hangman to come out, he didn't show up. And I had a feeling when they first showed that video popped up on Twitter. I had a feeling that we would be seeing Hangman burning that house down. And that's exactly what happened. Hangman was being stalked by Swerve. And Hangman has been saying that he's going to burn Swerve's whole world down and right that wrong. So I did think it was funny that people were actually congratulating Swerve about buying his childhood house. But something about that did not feel authentic in the video. And then everybody on Twitter was like, oh, Hangman is burning this down. So everybody collectively thought that same thing. The way it happened, I thought was spectacular. I think this episode doesn't really have me hyped for All Out, but it has me hyped to see more of Swerve versus Hangman, even though I for 100% did not want to see any more Hangman and Swerve. So that's Dynamite. Moving over to AEW All Out, the Now Arena in Illinois. We have, I assume that's going to be the main event. We have Pac versus Will Ospreay for the International Championship. Will Ospreay, I think, is retaining. Chicago Street Fight, Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander. That's a hard one to call. I think it has to be Chris Statlander. After that, Daniel Garcia and MJF. I'm going to say Daniel Garcia. Hikaru Shida looking to get that AEW TBS championship from Mercedes Moné. I'm saying 100% Renegade Twins show up. Fatal 4-Way for the AEW Continental Championship. I have no idea who's in this match at this current time. Okada is defending the title. I hope Takeshita wins. For the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks taking on the Blackpool Combat Club. Young Bucks. AEW World Championship, Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry. Bryan Danielson. Steel Cage, unsanctioned lights out match. Swerve versus Hangman. I would like to see Hangman win this. I think Swerve will win, but I'm going to say Hangman. So those are my predictions for AEW All Out. Hey, Brandon, got any shout outs? Listen to Brandon's shout outs, because when there's shout outs, there's honey. The first shout out goes to Adam Sandler Love You, which is his new special on Netflix. And it's very, very much so an Adam Sandler special. So I think you have to enjoy that kind of comedy. But I thought,
know what you're getting yourself into with Adam Sandler comedies.
Yeah, like if you've ever listened to any of his albums, it's similar to that. But I thought the finale was very, very good. And when I say like it's such a Sandler sort of thing, even the place where they filmed it, they built a set inside of a theater to make it look like the worst comedy club ever. So it was like a unique setting for a comedy special, especially for somebody like Adam Sandler, where you think he'd be like Madison Square Garden or something like that sort of situation. But it was like this dingy stage where it's like falling apart and everything. So it was very interesting to get that. But the finale I thought was fantastic. That's like the softer side of Sandler. My next shout out goes to Mr. Throwback, which I'm pretty late to the party. For some reason I thought this was premiering at the end of August, but it came to Peacock at the beginning of August. Adam Pally is the main character, who plays a former teenage basketball player that played with Steph Curry when they were kids. And in order to pay back a debt, he shows up to see Steph Curry. And a lot unfolds. Ego Nwodum's also on the show. There's some super recent references, which I don't know when this was filmed, because the Eras Tour is pretty recent, I think.
Yeah.
But the Eras Tour was also like a 2022 into 2023 into 2024 sort of thing. Mm-hmm. There's a Hawk Tua reference.
So
that's super, super recent.
Why?
But, and then the Olympics also. So I think this was supposed to lead into the Olympics on NBC. But, I always enjoy comedies when celebrities play fictionalized versions of themselves. So if you enjoy that sort of comedy, I would say check this out. Mm-hmm. And then my final shout out goes to The Fall Guy, also out on Peacock now. I very much so enjoyed this movie. It's an action comedy, and I didn't know that it was based on a TV show from the 80s. So I thought that was interesting, but it stars Ryan Gosling. It stars Emily Blunt. He's a stuntman that leaves the business, gets sucked back in, which I don't know what else to say because I don't want to spoil anything.
I have to see it still. It looked really funny.
It has pretty good reviews, but for some reason, it just didn't do well in theaters. Mm-hmm. Maybe it would have been much better if it was just streaming from the get-go, but I feel like this should have been much better in theaters. I enjoyed this movie a lot. So
yeah,
check it out. It's on Peacock. If you have WWE Network on Peacock, whatever, it's free to you. So those are my shout outs. Now it's time for
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. I gotta say, something that slipped my mind completely last week was that the WWE's Vault YouTube channel uploaded Drew McIntyre and Dave Taylor versus the Nasty Boys from 2007. And I had no idea that this match took place. I don't know if they were thinking about bringing the Nasty Boys back in 2007 or what, but that was very surprising to see.
Mm-hmm.
The match itself, I'm even more surprised that they put this on the internet, because it's like it's sort of a mess to it. The finish gets messed up. Jerry Sags can like audibly be heard cursing at Drew McIntyre.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, it's very surprising that popped up on the WWE Vault YouTube channel. That continues to surprise me, but I definitely popped for that last week.
I still have to look through it, because I don't take advantage of going through that vault enough.
They also uploaded footage this week of the In Your House video game being filmed.
Uh-huh.
So that was cool to see, because everything is like live action that they put into that video game. Like, what is that? Mortal Kombat, I think, was live action that they filmed.
Uh-huh.
So it's very similar. They show the style of them like walking on the treadmill and everything to get their walking and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You have any other mark out moments?
Just the entire Bash in Berlin, that entire crowd was awesome. Yeah.
Well, also on Netflix this past week, we saw Joey Chestnut versus Kobayashi.
Oh, yeah, I marked for that.
The hot dog eating contest on Netflix. Nikki Bella was hosting that. Rey Mysterio and Omos also appeared. And Rey Mysterio ends up giving Joey Chestnut a customized WWE Championship after he broke a world record of 83 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
That's insane.
I can't even picture eating like 5 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Just totally insane.
I don't understand how they do that at all.
I definitely do not know. That's for sure. I mean,
is that it?
How many did Kobayashi?
He was, I think, 70-something.
Okay, so he still had a. It wasn't
I
like
think he was pretty close.
Gotcha.
I'm not 100% sure. I think he was deducted 1 point for, I guess, bread that was scraps or whatever.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But even with the deduction, he wasn't coming that close to winning.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, Chestnut, he's our champion.
He's our champion.
All of that just because he wanted to eat healthy.
Is that because yeah. I still don't understand that whole situation, but that is episode 709 of Markin Out. Thank you so much for listening. You could follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms. Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney85, David PTDPT on all platforms. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/markinout. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/markinout11. You could also follow us on Instagram at markinout11. Buy some merchandise, prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. TikTok at Markin Out, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, markinout.com, and we wish you the best
of luck in your
future endeavor.